Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. So, yesterday, we're talking about the hadith that we have in this bab. Bab ma ja'a fi waqti salat al-jum'ah fi al-Muwatta. We're trying to understand how to do research about an issue, how to actually get an answer. We see the hadith that Malik brought. Malik brought three narrations. The narration of Malik, his grandfather, that كنت أرى تنفيسة لعقيل بن أبي طالب يوم الجمعة تطرح يوم الجمعة إلى جدار المسجد الغربي, right? That I used to see فإذا غشيت التنفيسة كلها ظل الجدار خرج عمر بن الخطاب ثم يرجع بعد صلاة الجمعة. That first hadith. The second hadith, the hadith of Amr ibn Yahya al-Mazini عن ابن أبي صليد أن عثمان بن عفان رضي الله تعالى عنه كان يصلي الجمعة بالمدينة والعصر بملل. And then the second narration with the same isnad, which in reality is a continuation of that isnad, he says that كنا نصلي الجمعة مع عثمان بن عفان ثم نرجع ثم ننصرف وما الجدار ظل. Right? So all of those hadith, we understood them. And we see that all of those hadith that he mentions in reality could all be used for either side. Even though the narration of Umar is stronger to the side of praying Jum'ah after the time of Dhuhr has entered, they could all be used for praying Jum'ah after or before. And so we said if we want to research an issue, we have to look at all of the different narrations we can find in it. And obviously, we're only using the 6 books, plus a couple of supplementary books. So there's tons of other books and tons of other chapters that we're not even going to look into. There might be a hadith about this topic in a chapter that you don't expect it to be in. Right? For example, when the adhan for Jum'ah is called. That might have something to do with this, because when do you call the adhan? When the time comes in. You see what I'm saying? Praying on a hot day. That might have something to do with this. Because what do you do on a hot day? You delay the time that you pray. So there are other chapters that we're not even going to get into. And then it could just be a hadith that's just random. That has nothing to do with this at all, but it has something to do with this. And so when you start looking and research, this is why just actually reading the books becomes important. Because if you only read the books like as a looking up exercise, I want to find a hadith, you're only going to find the hadith that are in that chapter. And you won't know what will be in other chapters of other books or that same book. And that's when the book is broken up by chapters. Let alone if the book isn't broken up by chapters, like, for example, the Musnad of Imam Ahmed, or the Mu'jam, or any of the Ma'ajim of Al-Tabarani, or Al-Tabarani. The point of it is that so we're doing a limited thing, but this is the basic beginning research. So we looked in the 6 books. So far we have 4 of the 6 books. We found the hadith of Aisha, إِذَا أَرَاهُ, right? That كَانَ النَّاسُ مِهْنَةُ أَنفُسِهِمْ فَإِذَا رَاهُ إِلَى الْجُمْعَةِ رَاهُ عَلَى هَيْئَتِهِمْ. Right? The people were busy with their own affairs, and so when they would go to Jum'ah in the Rawah, when they would go to Jum'ah in the Rawah, which is the Ashi, and we said the Ashi is after Dhuhr. And so this is a hadith that supports praying Jum'ah after Dhuhr. Right? That's why we have the check. Then we mentioned the hadith, the next hadith that was in Bukhari. كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يصلي الجمعة حين تزول الشمس. That the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم used to pray Jum'ah after the sun had passed. I.e. the middle of the sky had started to go to its decline. And so that's a hadith that is clear that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم would pray after the time of Dhuhr. But I heard one of you mention it yesterday and we didn't talk about it. And I want to talk about it real quick. كنا نبكر بالجمعة ونقيل بعدها. Right? We said, what is the meaning of nubakiru? No, to go early. But you also have to remember that to go early, although that is one of the meanings of nubakiru, what is the word in that? Like, for example, we said إِذَا أَرَاهُ, when they would, إِذَا رَاهُ, right? إِذَا رَاهُ, when they would go in the rawah. So, bakkara, like tahjir means to go in the hajira. And tabkir means to go when? I heard Muhammad mention it yesterday. A tabkir means to go during what time? Bukratan. Right? A tabkir means to go in the bukra. What is the bukra? What does that mean? Like, for example, you hear Allah mention in the Quran all the time, bukratan wa ashiyya. We know what the ashiyya is what? It's a rawah. It's after dhuhr. So when is bukra? In the morning, before dhuhr. Right? In the morning before dhuhr. So the statement of Anas when he says, kunna nubakkiru, the default understanding is what? We would go before dhuhr. Kunna nubakkiru.
Yeah, but that's just because they wanted to get that.
No. Kunna nubakkiru bil jumu'ah. We would do jumu'ah in the bukra. You see what I'm saying? Now, you could still understand that we would just pray, because just like he said, at kunna nuhajjiru, we would go like men raha fi sa'at al-ula. It could also just mean to do something not at the specific time. Like when you say to somebody, kayfa asbaht, what's the default in that meaning? How did you enter the morning? But it could also just mean, how are you doing? But we have to look at it as the default first. Right? So linguistically, we used to do Jum'ah in the Bukra. And we would take the Qaylula after it. So this hadith of Anas is more of a support of what? Praying Dhuhr. I'm praying Jum'ah before Dhuhr. Now, why did Bukhari bring it? If you look, Bukhari brought the previous hadith of Anas first, which was clear that they would pray it when? After Dhuhr. And then he brought this next hadith of Anas that is, in his opinion, less clear, to show you that, yeah, I know some of y'all are going to use this hadith, but no, go back to the one that was before it first. That's what it means. That's what Bukhari is trying to say. Right? So you have to look at how they present things. Then we talked about the hadith of Sahal ibn Sa'd as-Sa'idi, where he said, we used to only, the hadith of Jabir, we used to pray, and then later on, we would nurihuna wadihana. We would go and take our camels out in the rawah, in the ashi, right? And so this is possible to be understood either way, because that whole period is ashi, so they could have prayed early in the time and then took their camels out in the later portion, or they could have prayed earlier and then took their camels out when the time period just began. Then we had the hadith of Sahal ibn Sa'd. We used to not take a qaylula or lunch until after Jumu'ah. And we know that the qaylula is before dhuhr. And so his statement, we used to not, shows that they had a consistency in not taking the before dhuhr nap or the lunch that they would take until after Jumu'ah. But that can still be taken both ways. They could be not taking their before dhuhr nap because they were too busy to take it before dhuhr, and so they had to make it up after Jumu'ah. Or it could be because they prayed Jumu'ah so early that they would be on time for their nap. And that would match the hadith of Anas here. Kunna nubakkiru bil Jumu'ah. We would pray Jumu'ah early, and then we would sleep after it. So we see how it can go both ways. Then we mentioned the hadith, and now this hadith is an important one. The hadith of Salamah ibn al-Aqwa, because we read it in several books. But I want you, this is why gathering the different versions becomes important, because in the first book that we read it in, if it was either, I believe it was Muslim, the hadith of Salamah ibn al-Aqwa, one of the narrations said, "Ida zalat ash-shams," like we would pray when the sun started to decline, and then afterwards we would look for the shadows. We would look for the shadows. But that's the only version of this hadith that mentions Ida zalat ash-shams. If you look at all the other times we mentioned this hadith, they all said the other version of it, we would pray Jumu'ah and there would be no shadows for the wall to take shade under. So, is that version the more appropriate version, or is that somebody narrating by meaning? Even though it's in Muslim, right? We got to look back at that and say, well, did the guy that Muslim give us that meaning from? Even though it's clear, is that the actual narration? Because everybody else mentions it a different way. Likewise, we had the hadith of Jabir we talked about a second ago. They asked him when was that. He said when the sun started to decline. And we talked about that yesterday. And then we have the hadith of Abi Hurairah, whoever goes to Jum'ah in the first hour, the second hour, the third hour, the fourth hour, the fifth hour, which shows us that Jum'ah would start, according to some, in the sixth hour, while others say no, it would start in the fifth hour. And so we said that this hadith is possible, but it's stronger for those that say you pray Jum'ah after the time of Dhuhr has entered. But what do we have in Tirmidhi? Oh, fuck.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Like the narration in Bukhari.
Which one?
Both of them
from Anas. Okay.
If he didn't add that in there, then if the different view, maybe it can seem like it's contradicting.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, they are to somebody who doesn't agree with Bukhari. They are contradicting,
Right.
Or are they? Because two different things doesn't mean contradiction. I am a boy. I am also a father. Both things are true. You see what I'm saying? So it could be they prayed Jum'ah and sometimes they prayed early. But Bukhari added it for sure. It seems to be that he added it because, you know what, you guys are going to try to use this hadith against me and try to say that we used to pray in the Bukra. No. We used to pray Hina Tazula Shams. And so his statement, Kunna Nubakiru, must mean the other possible meaning. We would pray it at immediately when the sun started to decline. Right? But if I disagree with Bukhari, I say, no, Bukhari, what are you talking about? What did Anas say? Anas said, Nubakiru. When is the Bukra? Anta Arabi. When is the Bukra? Well, it's before Dhuhr. Bukratin wa Ashiyya. They're two different things.
Then they have the first hadith. What are you going to do with that?
Okay, Raha. No problem. We say you can go to Jum'ah early. We say you can go to Jum'ah. You can pray Jum'ah at Dhuhr time. We say it's okay. You see what I'm saying? We're not against you praying Jum'ah at Dhuhr time. But you're telling me that if I pray before Dhuhr, my salat's not accepted. And it said, Kunna Nubakkir. How you going to tell me my salat's not accepted? You see what I'm saying? But that's why Bukhari brought this hadith first, because that's clear. Even though this hadith of Anas is even clearer than the hadith of Aisha, there's two different hadiths of Anas, and we're going to find out later that Anas had the other opinion. You see what I'm saying? So even though Bukhari is using the hadith of Anas as a proof, I'm gonna put that second because I know you're gonna try to use Anas' statements against me. You see what I'm saying? And if this is all science of hadith. If a sahabi narrates something and then does the opposite, does it matter? Huh? They disagree. Some scholars say no. I tell you, the Prophet said, you tell me Abu Bakr and Umar. I don't care what Abu Bakr and Umar did when I got a hadith of the Prophet. But Abu Bakr is the one who narrated the hadith. But the Prophet said it. I can't help what he understood from it. This is what the Prophet said. You see what I'm saying? While other scholars say no, the understanding of a sahabi has to shed light on how you understand the hadith. Because they know more about the hadith that they narrated. Especially if they're known for that hadith. Like the hadith of washing your container out 7 times. Whose hadith is that? Anybody know? Abu Hurairah. إذا ولغ الكلب في إناء أحدكم فليغسله 7 مرات إحداهن أو أخراهن أو أولهن بالتراب. Right? Hadith مضطرب صراحة. But that hadith of Abu Hurairah, he narrated it. Abu Hurairah wouldn't do it. He would wash his vessel out 3 times. That's the hadith of Abu Hurairah. And he would only wash out 3 times. You think he don't understand the hadith that he narrated? So what do? Do you take what Abu Hurairah said the Prophet said, or do you take what Abu Hurairah applied? What do you do? I'm going to go with the hadith. You see what I'm saying? But it's a strong argument to say, well, I mean, Abu Hurairah knew the hadith better than you. It was his hadith. And he applied it this way. So it shows us that maybe it's not wajib, it's mustahab. You see what I'm saying? Maybe it's not wajib, it's mustahab. And so we use, because this is another thing we have to mention real quick. What do we do when we have conflicting hadith? Step 1 is what? Mumtaz. Verify. We have to verify authenticity. Conflicting hadith only matter when they're all authentic. right? If I have something that's weak and something that's authentic, the weak doesn't matter. So the first step is to verify. Like, I verified. They're all authentic. What do I do now?
It's from the Prophet or the companion.
No, that's hadith. We're talking about hadith. I verified I got two hadith. They're both authentic.
Try to put them together.
Combine. I need to figure out some way to use both of them, because I don't want to not use any hadith. So I want to figure out some way where I can use this hadith and this hadith. They seem contradictory, but maybe there's some way I can use this one and that one. Play, what if I can't combine?
Use one.
I abrogate. If I know the time periods and I know which one came first and which one came second, I abrogate. I do naskh. I said, well, this hadith came second. This is the hadith we got to use by, because this was the last of the two affairs. But I can only do that if I know the time frames of both hadith. If I can't abrogate, what do? You just said it.
Use one.
I choose. But when I choose, what do I use to determine which one I choose? And this is a whole science they call Tariq al-Tarjih. How to decide which one to choose. One of them has to be stronger than the other. One of them can I just, that one. I have to use some type of method to choose. You see what I'm saying? And so as I'm using this method to choose, there's a science to it. Statements over actions, prohibitions over commands. You see what I'm saying? There's different weighting factors that determine how to choose. A hadith that was brought for a purpose over a hadith that was brought for a different purpose that has something in it, right? Like, for example, the hadith of reciting Bismillah. There's a clear hadith from Abu Hurairah that says that Bismillah is an ayah. There's another hadith from Abu Hurairah where he says that Allah says that I've divided the salat between me and my slave in two halves, and he starts with Alhamdulillah. The hadith about the dividing of the salat, was the purpose of that narration Bismillah is an ayah? Even though that hadith is a proof that Bismillah isn't an ayah of Fatiha. They use it as a proof. The hadith of Abu Hurairah that Bismillah is an ayah, is that the purpose of that hadith? Bismillah is an ayah? So which one do you take? The one that was for this purpose, not something that was just mentioned in passing, even though the hadith of Abu Hurairah is weak, right? We got to go back up to verify, right? But it's only slightly weak, and it has support. So all of this is what we do in the science of hadith, and this is the stuff that gets you excited when you're doing research. So, hadith of Tirmidhi. What do we got in Tirmidhi? What's the name of the bab? Ma ja'a fi waqt al-Jum'ah. So likewise, Nasa'i, Tirmidhi, Abu Dawood, none of them are telling you the answer. They're just posing a question. Bukhari, he was giving you the answer. Either Zalat al-Shams. Everybody else so far, I'm just saying. Right? Go ahead.
حدثنا أحمد بن منيع حدثنا سريج بن نعمان حدثنا فليح بن سليم
Same isnam.
عن عثمان بن عبد الرحمن الديني عن أنس بن مالك أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يصلي الجمعة حين تميل الشمس.
Same hadith in Bukhari, same isnad, right? Tirmidhi has the same isnad close to the isnad of his teacher. Who was Tirmidhi's sheikh in it? Ahmed ibn Mani. But besides that, it's the same isnad that was in Bukhari. But he used the word tamil instead of tazul. Same meaning. But we see here that people are narrating by what? Meaning. Somebody didn't use the exact word. Because it's the same hadith. But Ahmed ibn Mani, he said tamil. If we go back to Bukhari, we see who Bukhari's sheikh was, right? And we'll see where the discrepancy comes up from. But the hadith, that meaning doesn't change the meaning of that word, doesn't change the meaning of the hadith. No, I thought he said tazul. You sure? Hina tamil? Fantastic. Sugar. And that's my error. Yeah, tamil is tazul, but I thought he said tazul. Hina tazul is shams. Okay. طيب. Yeah, good for continuing after the salat, right? طيب.
I might have to go because I have to take a part
Inshallah.
right down the road.
Inshallah.
If I have to.
الله أكبر الله أكبر
الله أكبر الله أكبر.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة
لا حول ولا قوة.
حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح
لا حول.
حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر
الله أكبر الله أكبر.
لا إله إلا الله
لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمد وسلم. طيب, continue.
This is he just has two, and I don't know. If
Okay.
This is like
Just read it.
Yeah. حدثنا يحيى بن موسى حدثنا أبو داود
طيالسي.
طيالسي حدثنا فليح بن سفيان عن عائشة عن عثمان بن عبد الرحمن
Yeah, same hadith.
التيمي عن أنس عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم
نحوه.
قال وفي الباب عن سلمة بن الأكوع.
So now, Tirmidhi, the same hadith, when they say nahwahu, that means similar but different. When they say mithlahu, it means exactly the same. So Tirmidhi is saying, he's giving you another isnad, right? To that same hadith that's similar, but the words are slightly different. So it still serves the purpose that we talked about. Somebody's narrating by me. But then Tirmidhi, from the things that make Tirmidhi's book stand out. Remember, we talked about all of the books of the Sikh. Did we talk about what makes each one of them stand out? Right? So you got to remember what makes each book stand out. From the thing that makes Tirmidhi stand out is he tells you who else narrated a hadith in that topic, even though he doesn't present it. So he says, and وَفِي الْبَابِ أَنْ سَلَمَةِ بْنِ الْأَكْوَعِ. We got that one. What else?
وجابر الزبير بن العوام.
Jabir and Az-Zubair ibn al-Awam. We don't have that hadith up here nowhere. So we need to find that hadith in Zubair. Right? What else?
قال أبو عيسى.
That's Tirmidhi.
حديث أنس حديث حسن صحيح.
No. Hadith Anas, Hadith Hasan Sahih. We know Tirmidhi, Bukhari narrated it, right? That's it? Go ahead.
وهو الذي أجمع عليه أكثر أهل العلم أن وقت الجمعة إذا زالت الشمس.
This is tricky wording. وهو الذي أجمع عليه أكثر أهل العلم. Okay. It just means a lot of the scholars said it, the majority. But he used the word ajma'. Don't let that confuse you. There is no consensus with a lot of the people of knowledge. There is only an ijma' with all of the people of knowledge. But the majority of the people of knowledge are of the opinion that what?
وقت الجمعة إذا زالت الشمس.
That the time of Jum'ah is when the sun starts to decline, when the sun passes over the midpoint. That's the opinion of the majority of the people of knowledge, but not all of them. And there is an ijma, we might as well mention it right now, that if you pray at Dhuhr time, Jum'ah is valid. If you pray at Dhuhr time, any time from the beginning to the end of Dhuhr, there is a consensus that your Jum'ah is valid. Nobody disagrees. And that's important. That's important. Everybody agrees that if you pray Jum'ah sometime at Dhuhr time, your salat is valid. Go ahead.
If you pray it before Dhuhr,
People disagree.
then I'm saying like It's a different question.
Okay.
If you prayed before Duha, do the same people who consider that to be true, praying before Duha, does it still replace Duha?
Yes.
It still does? So if I prayed it in morning time,
Uh-huh.
I don't have to pray Duha.
You don't have to pray Dhuhr because you pray Jum'ah.
Right.
That's why we talk about how this like the thing that made me excited to do this one with you all, because I am of the opinion that if Jum'ah and Eid are on the same day, I don't pray again till Asr.
I see what you're saying.
Right? But why do I not pray again till Asr?
If you follow that opinion.
Why? What is that opinion?
Because you take it before the time of Dhuhr. Before
There's a hadith.
Take it in the morning.
Coincides.
What coincided?
Jum'ah and Eid.
Jum'ah and Eid. So what did I pray early?
Eid.
I prayed Jum'ah. On the day of the Eid, when Jum'ah and Eid are on the same day, I combine Jum'ah and Eid. And so I don't pray again till Asr, because I prayed Jum'ah and Eid at the time of Eid, because I believe you can pray Jum'ah early. If you don't believe you can pray Jum'ah early, you got to go back and pray Dhuhr. Right? Or you got to pray Jum'ah. You see what I'm saying? Or if you didn't make the intention to combine, you got to pray Dhuhr. Or you got to pray Jum'ah. But the hadith of Abdullah bin Zubair, he combined Jum'ah and Dhuhr together.
Did he pray after?
He didn't leave his house until Asr time. Right?
Consensus.
No.
No consensus.
No, not at all. Right? That's the weak opinion. Or should we say not the weak opinion, because I think it's the truth, but it's the less popular opinion. Right? It's the one that a scholar will tell you whoever takes that opinion is a fool. Right? There are scholars who will say that whoever takes this opinion is a fool. Right? Now, obviously, I don't think I'm a fool. And I know Abdullah bin Zubair wasn't a fool. And I know Ibn Abbas wasn't a fool. And I know Abdullah bin Abi Rabah wasn't a fool. And they had this opinion. But because all of these opinions overlap. Majority of the scholars say you can't do what?
Can't do it before.
You can't pray Jum'ah early. So you have to be foolish thinking you can combine Jum'ah and Eid. You see what I'm saying? But that's why all of this comes into play. But this is a consensus. If you pray Dhuhr, if you pray Jum'ah at Dhuhr time, it is valid in everybody's opinion. Right? And that becomes important when we talk about the Eid situation, which we'll talk about. If I pray Eid at Dhuhr time, is my salat valid? Can I pray Salat al-Eid at Dhuhr time? No.
Can't.
Mm-mm.
Why can't?
You got to pray it the next day.
Next day.
If you miss Salat al-Eid,
You got to do it.
and it's now after Dhuhr, like say for instance in the Ramadan, and we were fasting, and then somebody comes and says, "Hey man, I saw the moon last night." You saw the moon? Allahu Akbar, it's the Eid, alhamdulillah, everybody break your fast. What about Salat al-Eid? What do we do?
Next day.
We'll pray it the next day, because it's after Dhuhr. You can't pray Eid after Dhuhr. But I can pray Jum'ah after Dhuhr. And so the people who say Jum'ah is an Eid, and therefore it can be prayed in the early part of the day, this is a response to them. They say, no, it's not. Because you can't pray an Eid after Dhuhr. Right? So all of this stuff comes together. The next narration. All right, you were done or no?
wait.
Go ahead.
إذا زالت الشمس أو وقت الظهر
Okay, like the time of Dhuhr.
وهو قول الشافعي
Okay.
وأحمد
Shafi'i. Oh, hold on. Read that again.
الشافعي
Shafi'i.
أحمد
Ahmad.
إسحاق
Ishaq.
وروى بعضهم أن صلاة الجمعة إذا صليت قبل الزوال
قبل الزوال.
أنها تجوز أيضا وقال أحمد ومن صلها قبل الزوال فإنه لم يرى عليه
Iyada. Okay.
إعادة.
So he puts Ahmed in both categories.
I thought it was the other thing.
This is an important thing. Which opinion is the opinion of Ahmed? His madhab is this category. You can pray before. But did Imam Ahmed change his mind? Is his later opinion the same as his earlier opinion? Or did he allow it while this was his opinion? Meaning he might have said, you know what? I really can't do nothing about the new Bakir. So if you did it, I mean, whatever. I ain't going to say nothing to you. That's your thing. But me, I'm going to do it at this time. You got to look and see what did Imam Ahmed actually say. Ishaq, he doesn't even mention a disagreement about Ishaq. And Tirmidhi is one of the earlier books. But who was a book that was specifically about this topic? Combining or comparing the people's statements with hadith. Ibn Mundhir. His main objective was to say, Ahmed said this, Tirmidhi said that, Abu Hanifa said this, right? With everybody else. The Awsat of Ibn Mundhir is one of the first books of comparative Islamic law. Tirmidhi is before him, right? Because Ibn Mundhir, he died 318, Tirmidhi died 279, but they're close. But Tirmidhi did it more from a hadith perspective while mentioning other statements. Ibn Mundhir did it from a hadith perspective while providing the other statements. So it's more detailed, and we're going to see what Ibn Mundhir says about these people later. Anything else? That was it? Ibn Majah. Yeah. While he's looking, who did Tirmidhi not mention? He didn't mention Malik, which is strange. I don't know why he wouldn't mention Malik. I was thinking Abu Hanifa, and I would press you, right, while you're reading Tirmidhi. We see he mentions the statements of different imams. How does he mention Abu Hanifa?
How?
Yeah, if you find him when he's mentioning the statements of different imams, does he mention Abu Hanifa? And if he mentions Abu Hanifa, in what context does he mention Abu Hanifa? In agreement or disagreement? That's an interesting thing to look up. Anyway, go ahead. Chapter title? Same thing. So the only person who was brave enough to give us an answer, and the chapter title was Bukhari. Everybody else in the six? No.
حدثنا عمار بن خالد الواسطي حدثنا علي بن مراد عن صالح بن أبي الأخضر عن الزهري عن عبيد بن السباق عن ابن عباس.
Okay, this is a new one.
قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إن هذا يوم عيد جعله الله للمسلمين فمن جاء إلى الجمعة فليغتسل وإن كان طيب فليمسك منه وعليكم بالسواك.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it starts right here.
Yeah, you was in the wrong chapter, but I still like it. You see, remember I said you might find a hadith in another chapter.
Okay.
What did the Prophet say? In the hadith yom. You got it from a wrong chapter. That doesn't have to do with the time, but I can use that hadith. It's a day of Eid. Khalas. That means I can pray it early. Because I can pray Eid before Dhuhr.
Oh yeah, it's what the Hanabila.
Well, in the hadith yom and Eid.
I'm saying,
What did the Prophet say?
I'm saying, is that
What did the Prophet say? Don't worry about me. What did the Prophet say? You don't use what the Prophet say?
Just asking.
Hey, don't worry about me. What did the Prophet say? Go ahead.
حدثنا محمد بن صباح
There we go.
حدثنا عبد العزيز بن ابي حازم حدثني ابي عن سهل بن سعد قال ما كنا نقيل ولا
نتغدى.
نتغدى الا بعد الجمعه.
Come on, we already did that. Hadith Sahl bin Sa'd al-Sa'idi, we found it with Muslim.
حدثنا محمد بن بشار حدثنا عبد الرحمن بن مهدي حدثنا يعلى بن الحارث قال سمعت إياس بن سلمة ابن
الأكوع
عن أبي قال كنا نصلي مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم الجمعة ثم نرجع فلا نرى حيطان فيئا يستظل.
No. We got that also in Muslim.
حدثنا هشام بن عمار حدثنا عبد الرحمن بن سعد بن عمار بن سعد مؤذن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم.
Nah, this is a new one.
حدثني أبي عن أبي.
Now, so who is the narrator? Sa'd.
بن عمار بن
If-
سعد.
No, so no, go back to the beginning.
أوكي. حدثنا هشام بن عمار حدثنا عبد الرحمن بن سعد بن عمار بن سعد مؤذن
So,
ونبي.
so the Sahabi is Sa'd,
Okay.
one of the mu'adhinun, one of the people who called the adhan for the Prophet. We had Bilal, we had Ibn Maktum, and now we know another person who used to call the adhan for the Prophet, Sa'd. What is his narration?
He says it's عن جده أنه كان
That's Sa'd.
أوكي. أنه كان يؤذن يوم الجمعة على عهد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا كان الفيء مثل الشراك
Shirak. Like, somebody look up Shirak. I think I know what it means, but somebody look up the word Shirak. Sa'd, the mu'adhin of the Prophet ﷺ, he said he used to call the adhan during the time of the Prophet. So that shows us that this is a what?
What was the question?
Him saying that I used to call the adhan during the time of the Prophet shows us that this is a what? It's a hadith,
It's a hadith.
right? كنت أؤذن على عهد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا كان الفي. So what was it? Was it dhil or fay?
Fay.
When is the fay?
Ba'd.
بعد الظهر. مثل الشراك. It was similar to a shirak. What's a shirak? Shirak, the cat.
What is it?
No, but the cat. Shirak.
Oh, a cat?
The cat from shirk.
Do you want to know the rating of the hadith?
We're not doing grading. Right now, we're not doing grading, right?
الواو والكاف أصلان أحدهما ألف اسم مقال
Okay.
أحدهما يدل على مقالة وخلاف انفراد
Okay, that's shirk, like shirk in Allah. Okay.
والآخر يدل على امتداد والاستقامة.
Imtidad wa istiqama. So now we know what the origin is, but what is a shirak? That didn't help me. I just need to know, what is a shirak? You know it. You probably know it. How did you tell me what it says?
I don't know if I got it right.
Why not? Read what it says. Yes.
It is.
What it say?
Shoelace.
Shoelace. But they didn't have shoes with laces.
They did?
So what would be the equivalent of their shoelace? The strap of their sandal. You never heard the hadith? Shirak na'alay? It's better than the strap of his sandal? What's the hadith? وَالْمَوْتُ أَدْنَى مِنْ شِرَاكِ نَعْلِهِ. It's a line of poetry that some of them used to say, and death is closer than the strap of his sandal. The strap of the sandal, how big is it? Small. Right? Right? You know, the Prophet used to have two straps. Now, this is where we get into all of that background information that we don't pay attention to. We read it, it's nice. How many straps did the Prophet's sandal have? Two straps. Right? So how big do you think those straps are? Like this, maybe. Right? Maybe like that. So I used to call the adhan when the fay was the size of a strap of a sandal. So if this is the building, that's all the shadow that's there. وَمَا لِلْحِيتَانِ ظِلٍ نَتَتَبَّعُ الْفَيْء. This hadith supports those narrations that said they would pray at the first chance they got. Play it real quick before Salah. What's the greater hadith?
That's fine. You wanted to
That's
say
all I
it
have to
now.
know.
No,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
weren't
yeah.
doing great.
What is this here?
Go ahead.
قال السندي وذلك يكون أول ما
يظهر.
يظهر زوال الشمس.
Yeah, that's what we just said.
Yeah, that's what
That it's so close when would the fay be the size of a strap of a sandal? When the sun first not appears and past the middle of the sky, right? But don't worry about it. How do you like?
That we weren't doing.
But we got it on the board, right? We got it on the board. Where's it at? Side. Go to والفي مثل الشراك. والفي مثل الشراك. Is that what it says?
كان الفيء مثل الشراء.
مثل الشراء. وإذا كان الفي مثل الشراء. Okay, يلا نصلي ونرجع إن شاء الله. No, I'm going to do that. We just now finishing the 6 books. We still got to get the statement of the Sahaba and the Tabi'in. We still got to get how their analysis and reason, and then we got to make a decision based on all of that.
There's only one more hadith.
There's only one more hadith, and we're almost done with the hadith.
You want to pause the recording?
I'll just cut it out.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
استووا تراصوا واعتدلوا واستقيموا. هذا من المناكب والأقدام وسد الخلق من بأيدي إخوانكم ولا تتركوا خرجات الشياطين. الله أكبر. صلوات. بسم الله. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. والصلوات. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. اللهم أنت السلام. لا إله إلا الله. اللهم لا مانع لما أعطيت ولا معطي لما منعت. لا إله إلا الله ولا نعبد إلا إياه. له نعمته وله فضل حسن. لا إله إلا الله مخلصين له الدين ولو كره الكافرون. اللهم أعني على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك. اللهم إني عجبت الله لا إله إلا هو. لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض. من الذي يشفع يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء. وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض. سبحان الله. الله. لا إله. طيب what's the last hadith in Ibn Majah?
حدثنا معتمر بن سليمان حدثنا حميد عن أنس قال كنا نجمع ثم نرجع فنقيل.
So this version, and that is not as nice, right? كنا نجمع ثم نرجع ونقيل. He just says we used to pray Jumu'ah and then we would go and take the Qaylula. He doesn't use the word Nubakiru. It's the same hadith, it's Hadith Anas. But in this version, no, it's different, it's not. But it's the same hadith of Hadith Anas. You know what I'm saying? Because the one in Bukhari, somebody got Bukhari real quick? Because this one is on Humayd al-Tawil. Mu'tamir bin Sulaiman on Humayd al-Tawil on Anas. Right? Humayd, what they say about the grading of this one? Because Humayd, there's some, he's, huh? Yes, that's Sahih, but what they say? They say it's Sahih ala Shatr al-Bukhari. Akhrajahu al-Bukhari is this one. Right? Akhrajahu al-Bukhari is this one.
What does this mean? Lafdatu Jalsa. This is the number 2. This is different.
Well, what was the version in Bukhari?
What's the version?
Kunna Nubakir. If you type in Nubakir,
قال أخبرنا عبد الله قال أخبرنا حميد
So it's the same hadith, Humayd. So it is the same isnad. مداره على حميد حميد الطويل. أخبرنا حميد.
عن أنس بن مالك قال كنا نبكر في الجمعة.
Different isnad because Bukhari gets to Humayd from a different path. Right? He doesn't come from Mu'tamar. But the madar, so this is what they talk about in the hadith when they say the madar of the hadith. It's the wrong marker. The madar of the hadith. Who does the hadith revolve around? Right? Bukhari's nowhere near the Prophet ﷺ. Neither is Tirmidhi, Ibn Majah, and they're nowhere near the Prophet. By the time you get to Bukhari and Ibn Majah, there could be hundreds of different asanid that all lead to Humayd. This hadith is the hadith of Humayd and Anas. You remember the Sheikh Az-Zuraq? We went to his house in Riyadh, and he had that chart that he made. That's what this is, the madar of the hadith, right? This hadith is on Humayd and Anas. But who got it from Humayd? We got Mu'tamar ibn Sulaiman. We got, who was it in Bukhari's version? No, before Humayd. Abdullah. Humayd on Abdullah. It's a good question. Which Abdullah is it? Who is it before Abdullah? Abdan. I would want to say Abdullah ibn Mubarak. But Allah knows best. But that would make sense, right? But I would want to say Abdullah ibn Mubarak on Humayd, while the other one is Mu'tamar ibn Sulaiman on Humayd. But all paths lead to Humayd. So it's the same hadith. It's just that Mu'tamar said kunna nujammi'u, while Abdullah said kunna nubakkiru. So who was better, Mu'tamar ibn Sulaiman or Abdullah? That's where you got to start comparing. That's when we say the science, like all we're doing right now is just the meaning. When we start getting into the hadith of it, the rijal and who's better, whose verbiage, whose wordage was better, it's a whole nother dose. You got to do it all over again to try to figure out which word you're going to say is stronger in it.
So you have to research it.
Huh?
Because your opinion says Mubakir.
Yeah, I got to research. But I'm...
Abdullah ibn Mubarak.
Yeah, it's very easy to find out. Like I say, Allah gives us the abilities nowadays to make things easy. I encourage you. Did I show you all these apps that I use? Like this app is called Maktabatul Hadith al-Sharif. I don't even know if it's still available in the App Store. There's a lot of typos in it, but it gives you a shortcut, right? It's called Maktabatul Hadith al-Sharif. They have Maktabatul A'lam with Tarajim, Maktabatul al-Fiqh, Maktabatul Sirah, right? And then they got one that has it all. But it's called Maktabatul Hadith al-Sharif. So we say, Kunna nubakir. Kunna nubakiru. Kunna nubakiru. I just want to go to Fath al-Bari because I know he'll mention it. He says, حدثنا سريج بن نعمان قال حدثنا فلين أو حدثنا عبدان قال أخبرنا عبد الله قال أخبرنا حميد أن أنس كنا نبكر قال باب الجمعة وكذا قال قيل اختصر إذا زالت الشمس. So Ibn Hajar doesn't mention the rijal. Does Al-Aini كنا نبكر. Al-Aini doesn't mention the rijal, so I'll skip him. And then, since I didn't find it there, I would just go to Humayd and see was one of his students Abdullah ibn Mubarak. I'm pretty sure it's Abdullah ibn Mubarak. I don't know who else they would just say Abdullah in that tabaqa for. Humayd al-Tawil. So Humayd ibn Abi Humayd al-Tawil, the people that narrated on him was Abu Ishaq, Ismail, Abu Damra, Jarir, Ibn Ukhti Hamad, Khalid, Rabi', Ziyad, Sufyan, Suhail. I'm just jumping ahead. Okay, so now we got a problem. We got Abdullah ibn Bakr ibn Habib al-Sahmi with Bukhari and Tirmidhi. Abdullah ibn Umar al-Umari with Nasa'i. Abdullah ibn al-Mubarak with Bukhari, Dawood, and Tirmidhi and Nasa'i. Right? So it could be Abdullah ibn Bakr, or it could be Abdullah ibn al-Mubarak. But I'm pretty sure it's Abdullah ibn al-Mubarak. Because in that tabaqa, one of the things that you'll learn is that when they say somebody like you know who he is, and he's in the generation that you know who he is, it's him. So during the generation of Abdullah ibn Mubarak, who else was Abdullah?
During his generation?
Yeah. If I said Abdullah, during the generation of Abdullah bin Mubarak.
That's his.
It's him. Especially when you look at the hadith being a Kufi hadith, right? Coming from Kufa, not from Medina, where you might say it's Abdullah bin Umar al-Umari or something like that. You see what I'm saying? No, that's Abdullah bin Mubarak. Who else is going to be? Right? And so that's something that you'll, right? You still will want to do research to confirm it, but I would almost say that's Abdullah bin Mubarak, right? I would almost be certain that that's Abdullah bin Mubarak. But that's how those books come into hand. What's the last hadith?
That's the last one.
What was it? Oh, the Mu'adhin, right? No.
No.
Oh, the hadith, kunna nujammi'u, hadith Anas. So it's the same hadith, it's just we got nujammi'u wa nubakkiru, right? But we said the hadith of Anas was possible either way anyway, so it doesn't change here. And we still need to see what Anas says. So now that we got all 6 books, right? That's all we're taking. We're not going to go to the other books of hadith except one at the end of it. Do you have an opinion? All I want you to do is tell me if you have an opinion and why. What's your opinion?
That it starts time of Dhuhr just because of the hadith.
So you're saying that if
Just
I
'cause
pray,
it's-
so remember the question isn't, can I pray at Dhuhr time? The question is, if I pray early, your salat is not accepted. You have to pray after the time of Dhuhr has come in. That's the issue. Because that's where the disagreement is. It's always important when you're researching an issue. We're not arguing about what we gonna do. We gonna do what? We gonna pray at Dhuhr time. You see what I'm saying? I don't need to know all of the fiqh in the world to know. Just pray at Dhuhr time. You see what I'm saying? You don't need to understand the
How does it
hadith.
start?
You don't need to know. You don't need to know nothing else for you except I'm gonna pray at Dhuhr time. Did you do the sunnah? For sure, I did the sunnah. Nothing else matters. For me, I'm gonna pray at Dhuhr time. I don't need nothing else. I don't need to understand nothing else. I don't have to be hafiz, scholar, muhaddith. No problem. Oh, she can go here if she wants. She can go. They got it back. The woman's side don't work. Oh, and the woman's side? She can go here. You don't gotta go to the men's restroom. You want to show her, get him set? Yeah, that door's open right there.
No, it's unlocked.
Oh, is it unlocked? It should be here. If it's not unlocked, here, go ahead. Let's see. I hope it's this key. I don't know. I lost all my keys. I don't know why they would ever lock that bathroom door. I say leave it open because the only way you can get in there is if you have the key to that side of the building.
To the laundry, so he
Oh, for the laundry. But even still, the only person who can get in there if you have a key to that door.
he'd be fine.
Yeah. Hello. But so do you have an opinion? So when we're making an issue, you always have to understand what the issue is. The issue isn't can you pray at Dhuhr time. The issue is if you prayed before Dhuhr time, is your salat accepted? Do you have an opinion? You got an opinion? So we're still unsure. We did all of those hadith. Still unsure.
Is there doubt in that Mubakkiru? Is it?
It's in Bukhari. What you mean is there
No,
doubt?
that word Mubakkiru. That's for sure they make salat in Mubakkiru.
Bukhari said kunna nubakkiru. What you want me to do?
But what does that mean though?
What does it mean to you?
Maybe did they go out at that time?
It says nubakkir.
Yeah, they went out for Jummah, right?
Nubakkir. What do you understand nubakkir to mean?
Some early.
Okay. To me it means.
Does it mean they made salat though?
Can I tell you what it means? Was I there? All I can do is look at the word and say kunna nubakkiru. What does nubakkiru mean?
They did something early.
They did it in Bukhara.
Yes.
Or somebody else can say, no, it doesn't mean they did it in Bukhara. That just means they did it early.
There's one available.
Maybe he's exaggerating. This morning, because you got to remember, these hadith, they weren't saying a hadith to say this is a hadith that somebody's going to care about the specificity of this word 1,400 years from now. Me and you were talking. This morning, I came to the masjid. All right? Or let's think of another word. See, we don't have enough words in English to make it obvious. Right? But if I say, we don't have enough words about morning in English. We have morning. What other words do we have for morning in English? Dawn. What else? That's a good one. Dawn. Morning. right?
Twilight?
Twilight is night.
Oh, that's not.
So when I say that statement in Arabic, I could just be exaggerating, or I could just be being close. Evening. Evening is a good word, right? I came to the masjid this evening. What time did I come? Before Maghrib? I came to the masjid for evening prayer. What salat did I come for?
Maghrib.
He said before Maghrib, but he said I came for evening prayer as Maghrib. Even though the word evening means what? Before night, and Maghrib is a night prayer. But when I said evening prayer, you understood that it's Maghrib. So was I being accurate, or was I just being close? Did they intend Nubakir Bukra, or did they intend Nubakir early?
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I don't know. You see what I'm saying? Because that's something you want. So you have to look at everything else to make your determination.
Right.
You have to say, well, Sa'd the Mu'adhin, he said, that's weak. But no, Salamat ibn al-Aqwa, Mal al-Hitani faith. The walls didn't have any faith. So does that make you think that is before Jum'ah?
That could also mean
That could also mean, okay.
the walls didn't have any. They could have just,
So you know what to do.
they were exaggerating. They're like, oh man, I'm so hot.
Yeah.
I gotta go find some shade.
And I'm looking, and ain't no shade. I'm a hide in this. A sandal. That's why I'm supposed to get shade in the sandals. What do you do when you don't know something? You looked in the Quran. Does Allah tell you in the Quran? Wallahi, appreciate Allah for the Quran. Allah makes things in the Quran what? Clear. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا قمتم إلى الصلاة فاغسلوا وجوهكم وأيديكم إلى المرافق وامسحوا برؤوسكم. It's clear, يا أخي. I looked in the Quran. Did Allah tell me when to say? He said, يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا. Does Allah tell me what time they call the adhan? Can't find it in the Quran. Got to keep going. Could I find the answer in the Sunnah? Found a ton of answers in the Sunnah, but I don't know how to understand it. You were asking me, how do I understand? Whose hadith is this? How would I understand the hadith of Anas?
We gotta go to it.
Now we got to go find what Anas said. Okay. Somebody bring up the Musannaf of Abdul Razak. Somebody bring up the Musannaf of Ibn Abi Shayba. What does the Musannaf do? You know what a Musannaf does? The code of the Sahaba. What am I looking for?
There's another narration from Bilal.
Where? What book? What book?
Tabarani.
No, we're not in Tabarani, Akhi. Don't try to make it hard on us, Akhi. Remember I said, there's so many books besides the 6 that we haven't gone through. But you notice something about the 6. They all said the same thing. What do you think that means? Those are the most authentic things in this issue. The fact that all of the 6 mention this group of hadith, that shows you that those are the most authentic things in this issue, hadith-wise. You might find other hadith, either they're not direct, like this hadith of Ibn Abbas, it's not direct about the time, or they're less popular, less authentic. Tabarani, when did he come? We're like 300-somethings now. You see what I'm saying? That's a difference. Now, we might use Tabarani to help us make a decision. But I looked in the 6, Akhi, I couldn't find it, except this. That shows us that these are the most authentic things in that issue. So we'll get to Tabarani when we graduate. Right now, we're still in middle school. When we get to college, we'll do Tabarani and we'll do...
Did we use the hadith from Bilal? We didn't, right?
No, we didn't use the hadith from Bilal. We never found the hadith of Zubair that Tirmidhi mentioned.
Right.
But let's go to this Musannaf, because that's going to help us out a lot. You got the Musannaf of Abdul Razak? Okay, the Musannaf of Ibn Abi Shayba, I got it right here. This is going to require you to focus, right? Ibn Abi Shayba is better than Musannaf of Abdul Razak in the aspect of abundance. Ibn Abi Shayba has more. Abdul Razak is better than Ibn Abi Shayba in the aspect of seniority. Abdul Razak was more senior than Ibn Abi Shayba. Also, Abdul Razak, he's going to give you more of the fiqh of the people of Mecca. Being Yemeni, he had a closer connection to Mecca. So you're going to get a lot of the fiqh of the people of Mecca from Abdul Razak. As opposed to Ibn Abi Shayba, he's going to give you a more balanced opinion or more balanced, but specifically you're going to get a lot of the people from Kufa from him that you wouldn't have got from Abdul Razak. So now let's see. Ibn Abi Shayba, he has a chapter. Whoever used to take the Qaylula after Jumu'ah, and he said that that was the beginning of the day. The beginning of the day is what? When he took the Qaylula. Or should I say the period of Jumu'ah was the beginning of the day. And they would take the Qaylula when? After Jumu'ah. So whoever said, Man kana yaqilu ba'da al-Jumu'ah. Whoever took their nap after Jumu'ah, wa yaqulu hiya. What is hiya? Jumu'ah awwalu nahar. And Jumu'ah is in the beginning of the day. Ibn Abi Shayba brings that chapter first. Does that mean anything? He brings this chapter before the other opinion. Does that mean that he's in support of this chapter more than the other opinion because he mentioned it first? You might die before you get to the next chapter. I want to make sure you know this one. Maybe. What's his arguments? So he says, حدثنا Abu Bakr, that's Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shayba, قال حدثنا غندر and Shu'bah and Salamah ibn Kuhayl and Mus'ab ibn Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas. He said, كان سعد يقيل بعد الجمعة. So now we have Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas used to take his Qaylula when? After Jum'ah. How did Ibn Abi Shayba understand that? That he would pray before Dhuhr. Now, can somebody argue that? He could just say the same thing that Malik's hadith says. Well, yeah, they all took their Qaylula after Jum'ah because they didn't take it before Jum'ah like they wanted to because they were busy with going to Jum'ah. But Ibn Abi Shayba is telling you, I understand this to mean Sa'd prayed Jum'ah early in the day. You see what I'm saying? So there's Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas. He mentions another chain on Sahl ibn Sa'd as-Sa'idi, the same one, Sahl ibn Sa'd as-Sa'idi. We used to not nap or eat. We used to not take lunch or nap until after Jum'ah. But we got that narration already, right? Next narration, he says, on Muhammad ibn Sa'd al-Ansari and Abihi, yani Sa'd ibn Sahl ibn Sa'd ibn, I don't know who this is, Sa'd al-Ansari. Okay, this is Sa'd al-Ansari. I don't know who he is. But he says, Kunna nujammi'u ma'a Uthman. It's the first time we're getting Uthman on our board. We used to make Jum'ah with Uthman ibn Affan, and then we would go back and take a nap. That's the Muwatta. It's a completely different narration, but it's the narration of Amr ibn Yahya al-Mazini on Ibn Abi Salit, Abdullah ibn Abi Salit. It's the same thing, but he says we used to take we used to make Jum'ah with Uthman ibn Affan, and then when we go back and take a nap for the Qaylula. Ibn Abi Shayba, can I argue it? Does this support any side more than the other? Not necessarily, but Ibn Abi Shayba is mentioning all of these with the understanding that Uthman prayed when? Before. Even though Malik brought it that Uthman prayed when? After, same hadith. So let's be fair. They can be argued. Okay, he says, and Anas, Allahu Akbar. He mentions his chain. قال حدثنا محمد بن أبي عدي and Humayd al-Tawir. And Anas, he says we used to make Jum'ah and then we would go back and take a Qaylula. Same one as Mu'tamir bin Sulaiman. We got that already. قال حدثنا محمد بن قال حدثنا كثير بن هشام بن جعفر بن برقان قال حدثني ثابت بن الحجاج and ابن عمر. Allahu Akbar. First time we get Ibn Umar. Ibn Umar, he said we used to make Jum'ah and then we would go back and take a nap. Come on, man, that's not helping us, Ibn Abi Shayba, right? حدثنا ابن إدريس and Layth ibn and Budayl ibn Samurah and Imrah on some woman. This is some woman said this. Who is she? No, some woman. We don't know who it is. What do we call that some woman? Not majhul, mubham, unknown. She's some woman, right? Obviously, she's some woman from the tabi'een. This woman, whoever she is, no. If it was Amra, they would have said Amra. We know who Amra is. This is just some woman. You see what I'm saying? Some woman said, I was a neighbor, جاورت مع عمر سنة فكانت القائلة بعد الجمعة. I was a neighbor of Umar for a year. I was Umar's neighbor for a year. The Qaylula was after Jumu'ah. So who is that? Umar. Right? But obviously this is weak. Who's this woman? Right? But she said, look, I was Umar's neighbor for a year. And the Qaylula was after Jumu'ah. Okay. قال حدثنا عبدة بن سليمان قال ابن زبرقان. It should be عن الزبرقان. That's a typo in this. قال كنا نجمع مع أبي وائل ثم نرجع فنقيل. Abu Wa'il tabi'i. Abu Wa'il. الزبرقان, he said, I used to make Jum'ah with Abu Wa'il, and then we would go back and take the Qaylula. The Qaylula is when? Khalas, all these people are telling you it's before Jum'ah, ya akhi. I mean, before Dhuhr. He says, حدثنا أبو معاوية and Al-A'mash and Zayd ibn Wahb. قال كنا نصلي مع عبد الله. When a tabi'i says Abdullah, who is it? Mas'ud. The default is when a tabi'i says Abdullah, it's Ibn Mas'ud. Because who was the biggest one? Ibn Mas'ud was the biggest one. He was the oldest one. He's the sixth person in Islam. He's above Ibn Abbas and Ibn Umar and Ibn Zubair and who's the other one? Abdullah ibn Umar, Ibn Zubair, Ibn Abbas, and Amr ibn al-As. Right? These are the four Abadila. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud is Sheikh. Right? So when somebody from the Tabi'een just says Abdullah, they expect you to know we're talking about who? Ibn Mas'ud. Usually. So this person says Abu Muawiyah said, and Al-A'mash. And Al-A'mash is Kufi. Sulaiman ibn Mihran. Right? So he's Kufi, and we know Ibn Mas'ud was where? In Kufa. He said, and Zayd ibn Wahab, who said, we used to make salat with Abdullah. We used to pray Jumu'ah with Abdullah, and then we would go back and take a nap. Abdullah bin Mas'ud. Abu Wa'il, is he a Sahabi or a Tabi'i? I said Tabi'i. Is he a Sahabi or a Tabi'i? Google him. Abu Wa'il. I'm pretty sure he's a Salamat ibn Shaqiq. But I'm pretty sure he's a Tabi'i. It's just strange that he brought him in the middle of Sahaba like that. But I'm pretty sure Abu Wa'il, because you got it's Salamat ibn Shaqiq. Should be Abu Wa'il. He's famous though, whoever he is. قال حدثنا عبد الرحمن بن محمد المحاربي and محمد بن عمر قال حدثنا أشياخنا منهم أبو سلمة قال كنا نقيل بعد الجمعة. So he mentions that Abdul Rahman ibn Muhammad al-Muharibi, he narrated to us on the authority of Muhammad ibn Amr, who said that our teachers used to tell us, and from them was Abu Salama ibn Abdul Rahman ibn Auf, that they used to take the nap for the nap for Qaylula after Jumu'ah. That's Abu Salama, one of the Fuqaha as-Sab'ah. Abu Salama, Tabi'i.
What did you say,
Abu Wa'il. Al-Laythi, I believe. Al-Asadi, Salamat ibn Shaqiq. Huh? Mukhadram. Salamat ibn Shaqiq, right? What's his name? Or Shaqiq ibn Salama. But Mukhadram, that's good. He's Tabi'i. That's what I thought. He's Tabi'i. Yeah, Shaqiq ibn Salama. Yeah. Now. So, Abu Salama ibn Abdul Rahman ibn Auf, one of the Fuqaha as-Sab'ah, he said, we used to take the nap after Jumu'ah. Right? But all of that's still arguable. He says, حدثنا عبد الله ابن أفلح and الحسن بن عبيد قال سمعت ابن أبي الهذيل يقول كنا نصلي الجمعة ثم نرجع فنقيل. Abu Hudayl, same thing. We used to pray Jum'ah and then we would go back and take the nap. And all of them are saying then. So they're showing a long passage of time. We would pray Jum'ah and then we would take our nap. Our nap is before Dhuhr, but we prayed early.
How would you say then, but in a short?
Fa. You see what I'm saying? He says, حدثنا الشريك and Al-A'mash and Mujahid. قال ما كان, okay. This is different now, finally. Mujahid ibn Jabr, Sahib ibn Abbas. What did Ibn Abbas say? What was his hadith? Inna hadha yawm Eid. Right? You see the effect of the teacher on his student. What did Mujahid say? Ma kana lin-nasi Eid illa fi awwal an-nahar. The people's Eid is always in the early part of the day. What is he talking about? Is he? Is it? What is he talking about? Don't tell me what Ibn Abi Shayba says he's talking about. What is he talking about? He just said Eid. Maybe he was talking about Eid al-Adha. Did he say? Maybe he was talking about Eid al-Fitr. Did he say? Maybe he's talking about Jum'ah. Did he say? But this is where you see the effect of the teacher on the student. What would the teacher's hadith? Today is a day of the Eid. He is saying there's no Eid for the people except that you prayed in the first part of the day. So now, if we want to take Mujahid, we say Mujahid is clear, even though somebody can still argue it. Mujahid is clear early part of the day. We getting clearer now. Okay, Mujahid, thank you. Finally. Shukran, right? Bear in mind, Ibn Abbas has my opinion about Eid and Jum'ah on the same day. No dhuhr. Ibn Abbas has that opinion too. So we see the effect of the teacher on the student, right? حدثنا وكيع and Ja'far. This is a great hadith. حدثنا وكيع and Ja'far ibn Burqan and Thabit ibn al-Hajjaj al-Kulabi and Abdullah ibn Saydan al-Sulami. Abdullah ibn Saydan al-Sulami, he said, شهدت الجمعة مع أبي بكر. Allahu Akbar. Here we go now. Now we getting in it. Abu Bakr. Abdullah ibn Saydan, he says, I've witnessed Jum'ah with Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, and his khutbah and his salat were before the first half of the day. He says, and I witnessed it with Umar. And his khutbah and his salat were at the time where I would say, maybe it's the middle of the day. Maybe it's the middle of the day. Huh?
That's clear.
Maybe it's the middle of the day. That means it's unclear. It's clear about the hadith, but maybe it's the middle of the day. I'm not sure.
Maybe because they making it early. That's why.
Maybe. Look, I'm unsure. I said maybe it's the middle of the day.
Because it's early.
So I'm not sure. I'm saying maybe it's not the middle of the day.
Yeah, because they used to do it early then.
I'm telling you, I don't know. You going to tell me how I understood my hadith? He said, I witnessed, but listen what he said, the khutbah and the salat. So we're all the way finished by the time maybe it's the middle of the day. Khutbah and salat and adhan, maybe. Then he says, then I witnessed it with Uthman. And his khutbah and his salat was at a time when I would say, okay, the sun has moved past the middle. And I didn't see anybody criticize any of those times. When did Abu Bakr pray according to this person? Before Dhuhr. When did Umar pray? I don't know. Did they have a watch? Right? Did they know? Man, I don't know what time it is, man. Is it Dhuhr or not? I don't know. We done and it's over. Salat is over. Salam alaikum wa rahmatullah. Salam alaikum wa rahmatullah. What time is it Dhuhr yet? Man, I don't know. What time did Uthman pray? It's Dhuhr time. Right? And nobody criticized any of that. Right? So now we see that narration. We got a couple more narrations and we'll break to, inshallah. He says, حدثنا جرير and Yazid ibn Abi Ziyad and Ata. My guy, Ata ibn Abi Rabah, student of Ibn Abbas, has my opinion across the board in this issue. What does he say? Kana man qablakum. Tabi'i says the people before you, they used to pray Jum'ah in the dhil of the Kaaba. What word did he use? Dhil. And the dhil of the Kaaba was the way that it was. There's no dhil for the Kaaba. We use the people, but who are the people before you? Before him? Ata is a tabi'i. Who are the people before him? Sahaba. That's what he's saying. The people before you, the Sahaba in Mecca, they used to pray Jum'ah in the dhil of the Kaaba, which is before Dhuhr, was the way it was. It was just like it, meaning there was no shadow for the Kaaba. That's clear. طيب. He brings another narration on Abdullah bin Salama. He says, حدثنا غندر and Shu'bah and Amr ibn Murrah and Abdullah bin Salama. He says, okay, now this is a clear one. Abdullah bin Salama, he says, صلى بنا Abdullah. Abdullah prayed with us. Who was Abdullah? Ibn Mas'ud. Just to let you know what's going to happen. He said, Abdullah prayed Jum'ah with us, duha time. When is duha time? It's after Fajr, before Dhuhr. It's before Dhuhr. Because you pray Salatul Duha before Dhuhr. He says, Abdullah prayed Jum'ah with us, Duhan, at the time of Duha. Whose hadith does that remind you of? Amr ibn Yahya al-Mazini on Ibn Abi Salit. Umar ibn al-Khattab. ثم نقيل قائلة الضحى ثم نقيل قائلة الضحى. He says, Abdullah bin Mas'ud prayed Jum'ah with us at duha time. And then he said, I was worried about the heat. What does that mean, he was worried about the heat? He wanted to pray early before it got hot. So he prayed with them early in the day at duha time and then told everybody, I was worried about the heat. Right? Just imagine being in that situation. All you hear is the adhan. You at home, you brushing your teeth still, you still eating your breakfast, and then you hear Allahu Akbar. You're like, what is going on? Why are they so early? You run out, you go, you catch the salat, you pray with the imam. Abdullah bin Mas'ud is the imam of the people of Kufa. They go to the salat, and then the salat is over. It's still duha time. You're like, I was worried about the heat, so we prayed early. But you learned the religion like that. You see what I'm saying? Nowadays, if we call the adhan for Jum'ah early, wouldn't nobody know what to do, right? But that's the hadith of Abdullah bin Mas'ud. That's clear. We prayed early. He says, حدثنا أبو معاوية and Al-A'mash and Amr ibn Murrah and Sa'id ibn Suwaid. He says, صلى بنا معاوية الجمعة ضحى. Muawiyah. He prayed with us Jum'ah at what time? Duha. And this could be Muawiyah when he's the Khalifa of the Muslims, or Muawiyah when he's the governor of Sham. Either way, this is Muawiyah, a person, a big figure, praying Jum'ah at before Dhuhr time. Does that mean anything to you? Oh, that's Muawiyah though. Who else was there?
All the Sahaba.
Because he's in charge. That means any Sahabi who was in that location at that time would have been praying with who? And none of them criticized. You see what I'm saying? So that shows you, the Sahaba used to pray early. Right? Even though it doesn't say all of the Sahaba, it just says Muawiyah. It shows you the Sahaba, the people before you, they used to pray before Jum'ah, before Dhuhr.
Is that valid because he wanted to do it before it gets hot?
Maybe he just wanted to do it early. He doesn't leave.
It's his call.
It's his call. Imam, you gonna tell the Imam when to pray Jum'ah? If I get to that minbar, you better be there. Right? But I got 5 hours before the Malaika roll up their pages. Unless the Imam come out first. You see what I'm saying? But at the end of that chapter, and this will be the last chapter we'll take today. I didn't want to continue it to next week, but I want to finish this. I really want to finish this. He says, Ibn Abi Shayba brings the next chapter of Man kana yaqulu waqtuha zawal ash-shams waqt adh-dhuhr. Those people who used to say the time of it, the time of what? Jum'ah, is the time the sun begins to decline, the time of dhuhr. So after bringing us all the people who said that it's the early part of the day, here are the statements of the people that say, no, it's the later part of the day. He says, حدثنا أبو بكر قال حدثنا زيد بن حباب قال أخبرنا فليح ابن سليمان قال أخبرنا عثمان بن عبد الرحمن أنه سمع أنس ibn Malik يقول كنا نصلي مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم الجمعة إذا مالت الشمس. Right? We got that already. And you see Ibn Abi Shayba brings a hadith when he's talking about the Sahaba. I thought this book was about what the Sahaba said. Why he bring a hadith? I'm asking you, think. This book, a Musannaf, is supposed to be what the Sahaba said. Why does he bring a hadith? Because the Sahaba said what? Hadith. The opinion of the Sahabi is the opinion of the Prophet ﷺ. Alaykum bi sunnati wa sunnati al-khulafa ar-rashidin al-mahdiyin tamassaku biha. So you see that Ibn Abi Shayba, even though his book is about Sahaba, he often brings hadith to let you know the Sahaba, their opinion was the hadith. So yeah, you got Sahaba said this, but I got the Prophet said this. And the Sahaba's opinion was the Prophet's opinion. طيب. He says, حدثنا يحيى بن آدم قال حدثنا حسن بن عياش عن جعفر بن محمد عن أبيه عن جابر بن عبد الله. He says, we used to make the salat with the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We used to pray with the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, salat al-Jum'ah, and then we would go back and we would take our nawalih, our camels, out for the rawah. Hassan, the narrator, he says, and this is, he says, I said to Ja'far, what time was that? He said, after the sun had started to decline. We got that hadith already. But the statement, what time was that? We've already talked about it. It could be either one. He says that Waki' narrated to us on Ya'la ibn al-Harth, on Iyas ibn Salamat ibn al-Aqwa, and Abihi and Nuhuqar. We already got this. We know where you're going with this. Salamat ibn al-Aqwa. He says that we used to pray salat with the Prophet ﷺ, Jum'ah, and when the sun began to decline. Alhamdulillah. So he's another person who brings this version of the hadith. We would go and search for the fade, the after dhuhr shadow. He says, حدثنا وكيع عن أبي القيس عمر بن مروان and أبيه. So Marwan, he said, we used to make Jum'ah with Ali after the sun had began to decline. Now we got where Bukhari got that from. Right? We used to make Jum'ah with Ali after the sun had already passed the middle point. He says, حدثنا عبد الرحمن بن محمد المحاربي and Ismail ibn Sumay and Bilal al-Absi, that Ammar prayed with us. Ammar ibn Yasir, famous Sahabi. That Ammar, he prayed with the people, Jum'ah, and the people were two groups. Some of them would say, the sun has passed the middle point. And some of them would say, no, it hasn't. So Ammar, which side you put him on? The people were two groups. Some of them would say the sun has passed the middle point. Some of them would say, no, it hasn't. Before, after, or is possible either way? Either way? Okay. But somebody might say, no, you know what? The people who know are a proof against the people who don't. So if I tell you something and you say you don't know, who knows? Me. I told you it is Dhuhr time. You said, no, it ain't. Who knows? Me.
Maybe you don't.
No, I know. I told you it is.
But maybe you're mistaken.
But there's a point. This is a qaida in the religion. الذي يعلم حجة على من لا يعلم. The one who knows is an evidence against the one who doesn't. So if you're negating something, you're attesting that you don't know. While the one who is saying, affirming something, he is testifying that he does. So who do you listen to? The one who says he does. So now maybe we put a check there. But you can leave the other line because maybe it could go either way. Right? Do we have an answer for why they couldn't tell? Do we have an answer for why some of them would say it is Dhuhr and some of them would say it's not Dhuhr? وَمَا لِلْحِتَانِ ظِلْ نَتَتَبَّعُ الْفَيْءِ وَمَا لِلْجِدَارِ ظِلْ. They would pray what? Really early. And so some of the people weren't good at recognizing the time of Dhuhr, while others were like, no, it's Dhuhr time. You can answer that question. You see what I'm saying? It becomes easy to answer now. And so you feel confident that this was Dhuhr time. He says, حدثنا سفيان بن عيينة and Amr ibn Yusuf ibn Mahik قال قدم معاذ بن جبل. يلا بسم الله. Mu'adh came to Mecca. قدم معاذ مكة. وهم يجمعون في الحجر. Hajr is a time of the day when it is not dhuhr yet. And they were making Jum'ah during Hajr time, right? And he said, لا تجمعوا, don't make Jum'ah حتى تفي الكعبة من وجهها, until the after dhuhr shadow of the Kaaba comes off. So Mu'adh is clear. And now Mu'adh is the first person who said, لا تفعل, don't do. Which means he's saying that it's what? The foundation would be, don't do it, it's haram. Your salat's not accepted. Up until now, everybody is just telling us what the Prophet or somebody did. That doesn't mean that you can't do it another way. Until we get to Mu'adh, he comes to them and says, don't do it until this time. That's an important statement. You see what I'm saying? But we also have the statement of who? وَالظِّلُّ كَمَاهِ. Was that Abu Salama? That the shadow of the Kaaba was the way that it was? I can't remember. I'm pretty sure. وَالظِّلُّ كَعْبَ كَمَاهِ. It was either Abu Salama or Abu Hudayr. And the shadow of the Kaaba was the way that it was. طيب. Let's finish up. He says, Ibn Ulayya narrated to us on the authority of Ibn Aoun, who said that they used to make Jum'ah, كانوا يصلون الجمعة في عهد عمر ibn Abdul Aziz والفيء هنيها. He says that they used to pray Jum'ah during the time of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. Right? Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. And the fay was a little bit, but it shows you that it was the fay, so it was the after Dhuhr shadow. And that's during the time of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. And if we know one thing about Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, what we know about him? He got the time down. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz didn't mess around with that time after Urwa came and told him and checked him. He was like, "Lord, no, never again." So come on, that's Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. And who was around when he was the Khalifa? Sahaba, right? And a lot of Tabi'een. Not too many Sahaba, but a lot of Tabi'een. He says, حدثنا هشيم قال حدثنا منصور and al-Hasan. That's a beautiful isnad. Hushaym, Mansour, Hasan al-Basri. The time of Jum'ah is when the sun goes down, or when the sun starts to set. Hasan al-Basri. And his statement is clear as well. The time of Jum'ah is when the sun starts to go down, or sun declines. That shows us that the time of Jum'ah is not before Dhuhr. So that's similar to the statement of Mu'adh, where everybody else's statement is a allowance, or just what was done. His statement is that you can't do it, because the time of Jum'ah is not, or it is after the sun begins to decline. He says, حدثنا علي بن مسهر عن إسماعيل بن سمي عن أبي رزين قال كنا نصلي مع علي الجمعة. We got Ali already. We used to make Salat al-Jum'ah with Ali, and sometimes we would find a fay, and sometimes we wouldn't. Which one is that? Muhtamal. Or it could be just how early they pray, like the hadith of Ammar, and like the hadith of Salamat ibn al-Aqwa. But it's still muhtamal, right? But we have a clear narration from Ali that it was after Zawal. You see what I'm saying? And now this helps us understand. Some of us would say it was, some of us would say it wasn't. He says, حدثنا عبيد الله بن موسى قال أخبرنا حسن بن السماك قال كان النعمان. Finally, we got where Bukhari got this from. كان النعمان بن بشير يصلي الجمعة بعدما تزول الشمس. Nu'man ibn Bashir, he used to pray Jum'ah after the sun began to decline. So Bukhari was spot on with these two narrations so far. You see what I'm saying? He was right, they had his opinion. He says, حدثنا محمد بن بشر العبدي قال حدثنا عبد الله بن الوليد عن الوليد بن العيزار قالت, it should be قال ما رأيت إماما كان أحسن صلاة للجمعة من عمرو بن حريث. So Al-Walid ibn Izar, he said, I never saw an imam who was better at Salat al-Jumu'ah than Amr ibn Hurayth. He used to, كان يصليها إذا زالت الشمس. He used to pray it when the sun began to decline. Bukhari, once again, spot on. We should have never doubted you, Bukhari, right? And Bukhari is saying that these are all authentic. Bukhari is saying this hadith of Ali, this hadith of Nu'man, this hadith of Amr are all authentic. How do we know he's saying it's all authentic? Because he said they did it. And when Bukhari says they did it, that means he is attesting to the validity of it. He says, حدثنا Hushaym and Ibrahim al-Nakha'i, Imam of Kufa. He said, waqtul Jum'ah, waqtul Dhuhr. Come on, what you gonna do? Waqtul Jum'ah, waqtul Dhuhr. That's it. You can't pray before. The time of Jum'ah is the time of Dhuhr. And that also gives us the benefit of the end of Jum'ah. When's the end of Jum'ah? Waqtul Jum'ah, waqtul Dhuhr. Thank you, Ibrahim. And that's the end of that chapter. Huh? We're not done. We still got a long way to go before we get to an answer. You just forgot about all of these other Sahaba that we mentioned? Yeah, I get the Sahaba. But what?
Are they Sahih?
Yeah, kunna nubakiru, ya. What you gonna do with that? It's in Bukhari.
No, are those Sahih?
Yeah, we good. Mujahid, Abdullah bin Mas'ud, Abu Salama.
So it is Sahih.
We'll see. But
I know Bukhari though.
Bukhari said kunna nubakiru.
When he says, yeah,
Bukhari said kunna nubakiru.
That's different though.
You saying the hadith is different?
Those, I'm talking about those out there.
So you want to take what Ibrahim al-Nakha'i said over what the Prophet said, huh?
I'm taking what Bukhari.
So you're going to take Bukhari over Anas, huh?
He took that one too.
What did he tell you about it? But he was wrong. He said kunna nubakiru.
He said he was wrong.
He kunna nubakiru. What you going to do about that?
Yeah,
So you just want to get rid of a hadith? You ain't even going to try to combine. You just going to get rid of a hadith, huh?
No, that new book right there. What does that mean?
Pray in the Bukra.
That means Musalli.
Bukra time. Ain't that what Ibn Mas'ud did? Ain't that what
Wait,
Abu Bakr did?
Ibn Mas'ud did that. Let me see if it's Sahih.
Okay, go look up.
Exactly.
I can hear this now.
But Bukhari says Sahih.
We're not arguing that you can pray at Dhuhr time. That's all that it said, that you can pray at Dhuhr. All of these just said that they did pray at Dhuhr time. It didn't say
but
that.
I'm doubtful about those.
We already know you can pray at Dhuhr time.
Yeah, but I'm saying I'm doubtful.
Those are the only ones Bukhari talked about. He didn't talk about Ibrahim. He didn't talk about Hassan al-Basri. He didn't talk about Ammar. He didn't talk about Mu'adh.
They just supported him.
Yeah, they support him, but this supports me. Did anybody look up Ibn Abdul Razak? Let's finish with Abdul Razak. X means that you can pray Jum'ah before Dhuhr. Check means that this person mentioned praying Jum'ah after Dhuhr. And the dash means it could go either way. Go ahead. Waqt al-Jum'ah. Cool. Ibn Jurayj, Abdul Razak and Ibn Jurayj. And Ata ibn, come on, we already know where this is going. I forgot to put Ata up here earlier too. Now this isnad, Abdul Razak and Ibn Jurayj and Ata. We already sahih. Except Ibn Jurayj was mudallis. Every Eid is when the duha time is really hot. What Eids? Al-Jum'ah. Khalas. Ata ibn Abi Rabah, the student of Ibn Abbas, he's like Mujahid. Every Eid is when ishtadda al-duha. Jum'ah. They're all Eid, Lucky. It's clear. It's clear. Abdul Razak, Imam. Ibn Jurayj, Imam. Ata, Imam. You need anything else?
Yeah, but is he an evidence?
No, he's a tabi'i. But look what he's explaining. He's explaining whose statement? Ibn Abbas's hadith. Inna hadha yawm Eid. What did Ata say again? Kullu Eid inda ishtadda al-duha. Jumu'ah. Argue with me now, Bukhari.
والأضحى والفطر كذلك بلغنا عن حدثنا عبد الرزاق عن معمر عن
كذا
كذلك بلغنا.
Ata is saying like this, we learned. Who did Ata learn from? Sahaba. Kevin Balagna. That's what we learned. So he's telling you where he got it from, even if he's not telling you specifically. Like, that's what we got from the Sahaba. Okay.
عبد الرزاق عن
Ma'mar ibn Rashid and Zuhri. Come on. That's what I told you. Abdul Razak, his musannaf, is much easier to grade. Abdul Razak is a tabi'i. That means all of his teachers are tabi'un. And so it's really easy to grade the musannaf of Abdul Razak. He has seniority over Ibn Abi Shaybah. Right? Abdul Razak and Ma'mar ibn Rashid and Zuhri. Okay?
عن عبيد الله بن عبد الله
Ubaydullah ibn Abdullah al-Umari. Ibn Utbah. Oh no, this is Ubaydullah ibn Abdullah ibn Utbah ibn Mas'ud from the Fuqaha al-Sab'ah. Go ahead, Ubaydullah
عبيد الله بن عبد الله
ibn Utbah يعني ibn Mas'ud from the Fuqaha al-Sab'ah.
عن ابن مسعود قال
On ibn Mas'ud, خلاص. All right.
قال هجرت يوم الجمعة
What did he say?
هجرت
Hajjartu. Oh, we go back to that narration again. Tahajir, Hajjartu. But when would Ibn Mas'ud do Jum'ah? Before Dhuhr. So we see how Tahajir can mean before Dhuhr. This is Hajjartu Yawm al-Jum'ah.
فلما زالت الشمس خرج عمر فصعد المنبر وأخذ المؤذن في آذانه.
Okay, so that doesn't help us. He says, Ibn Mas'ud, he says, Hajjartu Yawm al-Jum'ah. I went to Jum'ah during the Hajjirah. And then when the sun began to decline, what happened? Umar came out. Bukhari, we finally see where you got this from. Right? And so now we got all four people that Bukhari mentioned with asanid, but all of their narrations, are they saying you can't do it before Jum'ah? They're just telling you what those four people did.
Yes. I'm certain you can do it at Jum'ah.
We are all certain there is an ijma'. Go ahead.
عبد الرزاق عن معمر عن
جعفر.
بن برقان
Burqan.
عن ثابت بن أبي الحجاج
Thabit ibn al-Hajjaj.
عن أبي الحجاج عن عبد الله بن سيدان
Okay, that's that one we did already. Abdullah ibn Sayyidan.
شهدت الجمعة مع أبي بكر
I witnessed Jum'ah with Abu Bakr.
فقرأ صلاته وخطبته قبل نصف النهار
So he was done with his salat and his khutbah before the middle of the day.
ثم شهدت الجمعة مع عمر فقضى صلاته وخطبته مع زوال الشمس.
He did it he was finally done. Now this wordage is different. He was finished at the time of Zawal. That means his khutbah would have been what? His salat would have been what? Before. Ah, finally got Umar with that X now. There we go. Go ahead.
عبد الرزاق عن ابن
What happened to
جريج
Uthman? He didn't mention Uthman in that narration? Okay, so he doesn't mention Uthman. See, he's like me. I don't want to mention the other people too.
عبد الرزاق عن ابن جريج عن عبد الرزاق عن ابن جريج قال أخبرني عمرو بن دينار
Oh, Amr ibn Dinar, Imam Mecca. Who?
عن يزيد بن هرمز
Yazid ibn Hurmuz. Imam. Keep going.
قال أخبرني أبان بن عثمان
Aban ibn Uthman. Where's Uthman at? Okay.
قال كنا نصلي الجمعة مع عثمان فنرجع فنقيم.
Okay. We got this one already. Kunna nusalli. Uthman's son, Aban, one of the major scholars of fiqh. He said we used to pray Jum'ah with Uthman and then we would go back and take our Qayluda.
عبد الرزاق عن عبد الرزاق عن ابن جريج عن عطاء قال
You see Abdul Razak, who was his main teacher? One of his main teachers. Ibn Jurayj. And who was Ibn Jurayj, one of his main teachers? Atta. So that's why I said Abdul Razak, his chain is going to be like the fiqh of the people of Mecca. Because he goes Ibn Jurayj, who was the Imam of Mecca of his time, on Atta ibn Abi Rabah, who was the Imam of Mecca of his time. Go ahead. And the people of Yemen, they used to take from the people of Mecca like that, right?
قال بلغني أن عثمان كان يجمع ثم يقيل الناس بعد الصلاة.
Same thing. Uthman used to make Jum'ah and then the people would take their Qaylula after Salah.
عن عبد الرزاق عن ابن جريج قال أخبرني مصعب بن شيبة ابن جبير
Okay.
مصعب بن شيبة بن جريج أنه سمع عمر بن عبد الله بن أبي ربيعة
Okay.
يخبر الوليد بن عبد المطلب الملك.
Walid ibn Abdul Malik, okay, that's the Khalifa.
قال كنا نجمع مع نافع.
So he's telling the Khalifa, we used to make Jum'ah with Nafi'. Nafi', the free slave of Ibn Umar.
ابن عبد الملك في الحجر.
Oh, no, so say it again. كنا نجمع.
نجمع مع نافع بن عبد الملك.
So that's not the free slave of Ibn Umar. This is one of the governors of Mecca at that time. He's telling Walid that we used to do it with, one of your relatives, Nafi' ibn Abdul Malik, at Al-Hajr time.
فقال عطاء قد بلغنا ذلك.
That's what we used to do. Remember, you had this narration on who? When he said, who was it? Don't do it in the Hajira. Who was that? Mu'adh. That was Mu'adh who said, he came to Mecca and they were doing it at the Hajira, and he said, don't do it until the fade comes off of the Kaaba. But this is Al-Taw saying, no, we heard it the other way. We used to do it in the Hajira and that was fine. Oh. Go ahead.
حدثنا عبد الرزاق عن ابن عيينة عن عمرو بن دينار عن يوسف بن ماهك قال قدم معاذ بن جبل من الشام فوجد أهل مكة يصلون الجمعة في الحجر فنهرهم أن يصلوها حتى تفيء الكعبة من وجهها وذلك الزواج.
نعم.
حدثنا عبد الرزاق عن ابن جريج قال أخبرني سعيد بن جعفر أن أباه أخبره أنه أدرك عتبة بن أبي سفيان.
عتبة بن أبي سفيان, Muawiyah's brother. Go ahead. And he's a Sahabi if I'm not mistaken.
يجمع بالناس في الحجر شد النهار قائما بالأرض ليس تحته شيء.
He found Utbah ibn Abi Sufyan making Jum'ah with the people during Hajr time. Somebody look up the word Hajr. What time is that? Right?
Is it going to be on the?
Ha, Jim, Ra.
Is it going to be on that clock that you?
No, don't worry about the clock. That clock is not those. Anyway, look it up. Right? Hit a dictionary. But Utbah ibn Abi Sufyan, he was making Jum'ah with the people at Hajr time, and what happened?
شد النهار.
And that was at the time Shadda Nahar.
قائما بالأرض.
When the day was extremely in its midst, standing above the earth.
ليس تحته شيء.
Nothing was under it. The sun was in the middle, nothing was under it. Right? So that can be possible, but more likely before Sawa. Keep going while they're looking for Hajr.
How did you say
Hajim Mim.
حدثنا عبد الرزاق عن
Ha. Go ahead. حدثنا عبد الرزاق.
عن قيس بن ربيع عن إسماعيل بن سميع الحنفي عن أبي
Ruzain. Or Abi Razin. Abi Razin.
عن أبي رزين قال
We did that one already. Keep going.
كنا نجمع مع علي بن أبي طالب ثم ننصرف فيكون الفيء أحيانا وأحيانا لا يكون لا نراه يقول نراه أحيانا وأحيانا لا نراه.
Say that last part again.
يقول نراه أحيانا وأحيانا لا نراه.
Okay, yeah. So sometimes we would see. So this gives us some clarity on that one that we said was possible for Ali. He's not saying it wasn't there. He's just saying sometimes we wouldn't see it. Sometimes we would see it and sometimes we wouldn't. It'd be there. We just wouldn't see it. So it's so small. Go ahead.
حدثنا عبد الرزاق عن قيس بن ربيع عن إسماعيل بن نعم it's the same chain. حدثنا عبد الرزاق بن عن قيس بن ربيع عن إسماعيل بن سميع عن رجل سماه قال.
Okay, so this is some guy. Go ahead.
كنا نجمع مع عمار بن ياسر فما أدري أزالت الشمس أم لا نأتي.
The hadith of Ammar. She was so, remember he said some of us would know and some of us wouldn't? He said we would do Jum'ah with Ammar ibn Yasir and I wouldn't know. Has the sun moved or not?
حدثنا عبد الرزاق عن الثوري عن جابر الجعفي عن جابر الجعفي عن مجاهد قال إذا نوى الصلاة إذا نودي الصلاة
Either nudi or salat most likely.
it's not nudi,
Okay, إذا نوى الصلاة.
إذا نوى الصلاة قال العزيمة عند التذكرة.
Is that the same bab?
Yes.
إذا نوى الصلاة.
إذا خطب.
Huh? Keep going. إذا نوى الصلاة قال العزيمة.
عزيمة عند التذكرة. كان يعني إذا خطب.
Who was that? Ibn Abbas?
جابر الجعفي.
Jabir and Mujahid. That when he was ready to make salat, he would say al-azima inda tadhkira. Right? It's you got to do it when you remember. It's necessary to do it when you remember, i.e. the khutbah. Okay, keep going. I don't understand that per se.
عن الرزاق عن ثوري عن منصور عن رجل عن مسروق قال إذا نودي للصلاة قال هو الوقت.
Yeah, إذا نودي للصلاة قال هو الوقت. I like that. Who is that? Masruq? I like Masruq. Masruq's statement is, that's nice, Salafi. Masruq said, whenever they call the adhan, that's what time the salat is. They call it early, what you do? They call it early, what you do? You go pray. They call it after the door, what you do? Whenever they call the salat, that's when you pray. At-tadhkir al-azima inda tadhkira. That gives us some understanding of it. You got to do it when you're told to do it. That's what Mujahid's statement means. You got to do it when you're told to do it. Either know salah. When do you make your intention to go pray Jum'ah? When you're reminded to go pray Jum'ah. Either nudi ila salah. Khalas. Salafi. Follow the emir. Whatever the ruler does, that's what you do. Salafi. Allahu Akbar.
حدثنا عبد الرزاق عن يحيى بن علاء.
And who?
عن يحيى بن علاء.
And Yahya ibn Ala? Okay. And Amash?
عن زيد بن وهب قال كنا نجمع مع ابن مسعود ثم نرجع فنقيم.
We got that, Ibn Mas'ud.
أخبرنا عبد الرزاق قال أخبرنا رجل عن الحارث عن فضيل عن محمد بن كعب قال كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم